I want us to have one Chicago. Right now, there's multiple Chicagos, right?
And every time I watch this city evolve, it's amazing.
So I think in addition to all the things you said,
Why we're in this what's quote unquote good for business?
Sometimes they just feel like they don't know what they actually need.
But it has to be something tangible that they can take away with them.
And maybe being more involved and knowing each other, they will prevent bad things from happening.
I think Burrell said it best, but said we need to expose more of Chicago to Chicago.
And let's think about what if this whole community could be changed with
Fabulous. So I had this fabulous introduction that I was going to give to Terry. But anyway, now that I see this, I'm going to talk about our on-the-table dinner, which Rick Jaskalka and Jim Turman asked my wife and me to host. We had a fabulous group, and you know all the names. Everybody in the room kind of had 100% name recognition. But anyway, here's what came out of it. Because the question was to the people having this nice dinner, how would you spend $100 million to make it a better city? Number one, this came from a certain Supreme Court justice, promote Special Olympics Chicago programs which lead to job opportunities for special needs children and adults. That was number one. Number two, become known across the globe as the, quote, World Autism Center. 1 in 45 children, not sure what that means, but evaluation, treatment, and education. This would create hundreds of thousands of global visitors to come to Chicago for services of the World Autism Center. Has a huge economic impact and global attention on Chicago. Number three, this came from John Rogers, fund a marketing push to buy local here, okay? Number four, create a female-driven community to address the greatest needs of the city of Chicago. Leaders of industry, healthcare, and academia are predominantly male-dominated. Yet agents of change at the community level are often mothers and women in the neighborhoods. That was number four. Number five, go ahead, you can clap. I think my wife was leading that one. Make Teach for America local. In other words, teach for Chicago, but expand the parameters to incorporate more informal systems of education. For example, 0 to 3-year-olds in local settings, faith-based educational settings, support women and men to stay local and teach. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, Terry Mazany. Terry?
Thank you so much, Jay. Couldn't ask for a better introduction because it is all about our community. It is about the thousands of ideas that we received for that. I look forward to this event each and every year because of the energy that comes together in this room. I'm egotistical enough to think that the energy is about me, but I know that it happens every week that the City Club hosts fabulous speakers for that. So I'm very thankful for Jay and the City Club to once again welcome me and the Trust to present our annual State of the Community Address. In the past, I've shared information about the Trust and what we do, data on pressing issues affecting our region, and broad insights on actions that civic leaders might consider to strengthen our communities. In the past, I've been Mr. Doom and Gloom, but not today. Our primary goal for today's address is to create a moment of reflection to talk about the power of our diverse community and the importance of social good. To make the case that all of us across every corner of our region are bound together and need to act together. Our well-being, our prosperity, and our future are all interdependent. Today, I have the benefit of being informed by more than 11,000 voices of individuals who participated in a single-day conversation about the future of our region. The introductory video clip and images streamed during lunch were from the Trust on the Table community dialogue held just 6 weeks ago. My purpose today is to share with you what we heard and what we learned from the thousands who participated. You already just got a glimpse of that from Jay. The idea for On the Table was born in recognition that the Chicago Community Trust itself was an early example of social innovation and collaboration. Think about it. 100 years ago, a group of residents caring deeply about the fate of our city, then the fastest growing city in the world, decided to combine their philanthropy to make a greater impact through social investments. They came to this unselfish decision while sharing meals and having conversations. We decided that the best way to honor this milestone was to tap into the energy of our founder's vision in 1915. If a small group of people could give light to such a powerful idea, what brilliance could thousands generate? Thus, the genesis of On the Table. On that single day, May 12th, more than 11,500 of our closest friends, as well as people we've never met, gathered at over 1,100 meals to discuss the future of Chicago. Conversations took place throughout metropolitan Chicago, in every city neighborhood, in each of the 6 metro counties and beyond, and in diverse locations from the Ralph Lauren Cafe to the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center, from the Dining on the Green Banquet Hall in Park Forest to the Lilac Cottage in Waukegan's Bowen Park. In partnership with Groupon, restaurants set the table for gatherings of hundreds of individuals looking to join the conversation. We thank them for opening their doors to this collaboration. Each conversation was hosted by a community champion, an individual who volunteered his or her time to convene others to imagine our collective future. These champions reflected all of Chicago, young and old, and every age in between, every race and ethnic heritage, spanning the economic spectrum from poverty to affluence. On the Table became the #1 Twitter trend for Chicago, and participants contributed over 6,000 ideas online. People felt empowered and were eager to join with others in this oldest of human traditions, breaking bread together and forming community. I want to express the Trust's deep gratitude for everyone who participated. I suspect that many of you in this room attended one or more of these mealtime conversations. I'm especially grateful to our executive committee, our board, and our generous donors and grant recipients. I also want to thank our sponsors who are with us today: Comcast, Allstate, Bank of America, BMO Harris, ComEd, JMB Realty Corporation, and JP Morgan Chase. In particular, I want to acknowledge the On the Table Steering Committee, many of whom are here today, and Leslie Bloom and Carol Brown, who co-chaired the initiative. None of us knew exactly what this day would turn out to be, but everyone embraced the vision and helped to make an 11,000 person conversation a reality. Why would we do this? From the founding of the Trust 99 years ago, our mission has been to serve our community, to nurture and nourish the common good. Our ambition for On the Table was to create a social commons worthy of the spirit of Chicago, the greatest of virtues ascribed to the city by Daniel Burnham 105 years ago. The spirit of Chicago is our greatest asset. What we as a people decide to do in the public interest, we can and surely will bring to pass. About 75 years later, Mayor Harold Washington also tapped into this quintessential character of Chicago. Chicago is one city. It shall work as one people for our common good and our common goals. The common good is shaped by people continually coming together to develop a deep understanding of our connectedness. This is vital to our collective effort to serve and support one another, so every place people call home is also a place of opportunity for every person. On May 12th, I participated in 5 mealtime conversations, and my colleagues at the Trust fanned out to join hundreds of other on-the-table conversations. One common theme we heard is that many residents still haven't recovered from the Great Recession. The loss of a middle-class wage has been replaced by a minimum wage. Parents are working 2 and 3 jobs just to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table. This leaves less time for raising a family and helping their children do well in school. Added to this financial stress is that we don't get a sense of a bottom, nor a return to a period when prosperity is more broadly shared. Instead, income and wealth gaps continue to widen. In spite of this reality, we did not hear a gripe fest, the blame game, or finger pointing. Instead, we heard and saw great passion, commitment, resilience, and optimism. To chronicle that day, we had the gift of Chicago's own Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer John White, who joined me for the day and recorded hundreds of images. He has a special talent to see a person's inner spirit. Let's take a look at the faces of some who participated. What I saw were faces of people who were cautious, delighted, thoughtful, intense, hopeful, troubled, engaged, connecting, very emotional, all highly energetic and invested in each other and their community. These are the people we serve. Over and over again, conversations illuminated 3 observations reaffirming the spirit of Chicago is more alive than ever. First, as you can see from these individual portraits, our fellow residents have extraordinary passion and energy for their communities. This passion sparks a do-whatever-it-takes drive to make our region a better place to live. They have insights and ideas. They want to help solve problems, meet challenges, and seize opportunities. Third, people want to work together. There is a strong desire to shed our image of a city divided, beset with conflict, and instead build a narrative of respectful deliberation and collaboration. The immense power generated by the simple act of people coming together was apparent at every on-the-table conversation. What we learned from these individuals and many others is that our fellow residents have a wealth of powerful and actionable ideas, ideas to improve the quality of their own lives and the lives of others. For example, we can lengthen high school to 5 years for those who need extra time to graduate with heightened opportunity for success. We can organize an interfaith festival hosted by our region's diverse faith-based communities. Offer local communities the chance to turn around their neighborhood schools using the game plan from the Nettlehorse, Blaines, Bells, and Coonleys of our city. Build a bike path along Chicago Avenue running from Maywood through River Forest to connect these communities, which are currently separated by a 4-lane highway. Enhance and dramatically expand financial literacy in our schools and for adults, an idea we heard in many places. Encourage manufacturers to adopt a Made in Chicago label and build this brand as an emblem of excellence for our region. We also learned that small is the new big. It's not always about scale, but about connection and relationship. We heard, let's amplify the small things that work. Let's stop grandstanding big initiatives and new ideas. As we continue to sort through the thousands of ideas from the day, we can see what people were talking about and which topics were discussed most frequently. The number one topic by a wide margin was, no surprise, education. People get that this is the key to the American dream, and without a good education, we experience a host of social ills, costing lives, families, and dollars. The number 2 and 3 topics were a surprise. It wasn't violence, nor pension debt, nor government corruption. The number 2 and 3 topics were community engagement and collaboration. This says a lot about the insights of our fellow residents. They understand that much of what ails our community can be solved by people coming together and working together for the common good. They know, like our earliest ancestors, that we must work together to defeat the cave bear or settle the prairie, raise a barn, or raise a family. And I'll say more about this in a few minutes. So what did we learn by listening to our fellow residents? At a lunch in Park Forest, hosted by Mayor John Ostenberg, I met a rising high school senior. She told me about her experience as the first person in her family to consider college. Because her parents didn't attend college, they weren't able to help her navigate the choices and preparation needed, like understanding the role that the ACT test plays. As a result, she said, I feel that I am on my own. I'm sorry, but none of our young people should ever feel like they are on their own, but I'm afraid far too many do. This young woman gets it. She knows that to get a decent job, she has to go to college. She also has a perception of the crushing burden of student debt, and she's frankly terrified by it, to the point that she most likely will go to community college instead of the 4-year college for which she is fully qualified. Bottom line, no qualified student in our country should be denied the opportunity to go to college because of lack of money. We are guilty of perpetrating a cruel hoax on our nation's children, telling students that college is the prerequisite for the American dream, and then holding that opportunity just out of reach. If we do nothing, the consequence is reduced social mobility. We can do better than this, and I ask that we join together to do just that. We need more individuals like Tim Schwartzfeger to help us close the gap and deliver on the promise of the American dream. Tim is a champion for Chicago scholars. They have issued a community-wide call to action designed to serve 10,000 students, guiding them from high school all the way to college graduation. And not without self-interest, Chicago needs a diverse pool of highly skilled professionals if it is to remain a world-class city. And we've got our very own big shoulders here with Josh and the amazing work that they are doing to provide thousands of opportunities for young people to move through school and to college. The second opportunity we can seize on related to helping more young people develop whatever it takes to qualify for college. Regardless of your position on the school reform debates, without question, we need to ensure that every middle and high school student has a mentor, a meaningful adult relationship to be there for that important journey from childhood to adulthood. As we see with Brookfield Zoo and with Skylar here, that connection is the essence of our humanity. During one of the meals, we heard such an example from Jean Rowe, who has dedicated herself to mentoring a group of 16 young women at the Rowe Clark Charter School. They meet weekly to discuss everything that matters to a young woman trying to grow up in a challenging world, succeed in school, and plan a purposeful adult life. These conversations are frequently difficult, but Jean provides unconditional acceptance and a supportive shoulder. She is a caring role model, and these young women know she is in their corner. Fortunately, Jean is not alone. She is joined by others like Mabel Taplin, who channeled her personal experiences to found Joni Girls Heart, an organization that sponsors young women through the challenges they face on the journey from home to college to career. Mabel came to the Trust by way of our Young Leaders Fund, a group of young professionals that seeks out and funds small emerging neighborhood nonprofits and talented leaders. This is philanthropy at its best, caring community members coming together to make a difference. There is also no doubt that together we can connect every single young person with a caring adult so they don't feel disconnected and alone. No doubt whatsoever that together we can make education an adventure that sparks a passion for learning and produces the next generation of scientists and inventors, teachers and leaders. For this to happen, every young people needs at least one of us in their corner. You can be that one person who matters. Now let me return to the topics of community engagement and collaboration. A meal I shared at Northwest Side Housing Center, located in Belmont Cragen, was all about the spirit of community engagement and collaboration. The organization was created because residents of the neighborhood felt there is no sense of community out there. In recent years, the center's dedicated staff and neighborhood volunteers have focused their attention on two pressing and closely related problems in Belmont Cragen: foreclosures and violence. When the housing crisis hit, they fought to keep their homes with an 83% success rate. How are they doing this? By knocking on their neighbors' doors and connecting them with the help they need to stave off foreclosure. By motivating their neighbors to stay, telling them you are an essential part of this community. By forming block clubs, by creating neighborhood watch groups. Belmont Cragen is just one example of community engagement and collaboration. We found that the yearning these residents feel for a stronger sense of community is shared by thousands of others throughout our region. People are hungry for it, not only in their own backyards, but across neighborhood boundaries. We heard our fellow residents say things such as, more Chicago needs to be exposed to more Chicago. We need to care as much about Inglewood and Lawndale as we do about Lincoln Park and Lakeview. Chicago has sister cities programs. What if we had a sister neighborhoods program to create dialogue and exchanges across? I take that as a yes. The trust should continue to invest in that idea. It makes a lot of sense. It's also clear that we continue to struggle against our heritage of segregation, yet there's also a strong desire to transcend traditional barriers and create opportunities for genuine connection and understanding. People want to be part of a movement that builds a new city and region, organized around the values of equity and opportunity, diversity, and inclusion. The state of the community is strong because we continue to have residents committed to solving our most pressing issues. However, we can only secure a strong future if we harness our collective energy to solve our greatest challenge of segregation. Chicago must truly act as one city. The region must act as one region. We can continue to be proud of our individual neighborhoods and suburbs, but our destiny depends on our ability to come together. Real solutions, real progress, we are told, will only come when we deal with this social fragmentation. At one meal, a young African-American professional put it bluntly, "I'm not sure if I will stay in Chicago. I love it, but I'm not sure if I can cope with the separation, the division, the inequity." If we don't unite our communities, we will lose our greatest asset, our people, one way or another, to other cities, to violence, to apathy. Declining population is the greatest existential threat to Chicago. We are 6 years out from the next census. Do we continue our downward slide in population, or do we take steps to re-energize neighborhoods as welcoming places where people can raise a family and earn a living? More than once during the course of these conversations, the Chicago Community Trust was asked to help bolster collaborations, to build a website like Illinois Joining Forces, which helps veterans find resources and referrals. At others, people ask, can the Trust convene regular and annual meetings for groups to work together around a common goal? One on-the-table participant, Ellie Lee, stated that the Trust's initials, CCT, actually stand for Chicago Changes Together. And another said CCT means Chicago Coming Together. Can we do this? Absolutely. This is what we were designed to do 100 years ago, just for this moment, for today, and for future generations. So I was asked a lot, what do you do for an encore after On the Table? The good news is our ambition for the Trust Centennial is to inspire metropolitan Chicago to become the most philanthropic region in the nation, the most caring region in the nation. Yesterday, Giving USA released the latest figures for our nation's charitable giving, $335 billion. That sounds like it's a big number, but it's only 2% of our GDP. It was a 4% increase from the year before, which also sounds great, but the stock market rose 20% in that same period of time. I believe our region is better than this and can do better than most, fueled by the spirit of Chicago. In the face of declining capacity of government to deliver on even the most basic of needs, more and more communities will have to pull together and tap into our country's heritage of communal solidarity. It's not about one person anymore. It's about the principle of all for one and one for all, which is the basis of citizenship, forging the common good from self-interest. To put a finer point on this, increasingly we live in a world where the common good is our self-interest. Many of our residents and a number of our communities are still suffering the hardship of the Great Recession. Others of us have been more fortunate and enjoy renewed prosperity. Yet, regardless of individual circumstance, each of you will be asked to join with us to invest your time, talent, and treasure in smart ways to restore our city and our region for all residents. becoming the most caring region in the nation is only achieved together. On the Table has forever changed the Chicago Community Trust. It brought into focus the enduring reality that the strength of our community is our people. As long as we have residents who desire to work for the common good, our community remains strong, our capacity to be resilient remains intact. Our commitment at the Trust is to ensure that the voice of the community remains at the center of our work. We'll bring this imperative to every partnership, every initiative. It will inform our priorities going forward. Strong, powerful ideas emerge from On the Table. Dozens have already been galvanized to take off under their own power. Many other ideas have clear champions that need only a nudge to start, a sense that they matter and that they are part of a bigger movement. To propel these, the Trust can consider the nudge of microgrants. In other cases, ideas are shared, and we can help mobilize collaboratories to polish them so that the community, not the Trust, but the community can select those ideas best suited to move from concept to real community benefit. As we continue our journey with these ideas and all of our work at the Trust, the voices of community will remain front and center. That's our promise. As we look forward to our 100th anniversary, we remain confident that this work, community building, will be the movement that reaffirms the indelible spirit of Chicago. Thank you very much for joining me for lunch.
Thank you so much, Terry. What information was shared with us, and we so appreciate that. I don't have a question. That's unbelievable. Terry, you are just that awesome. I thought President was going to ask a question. Literally, I have no questions? Okay.
If you have questions, just hand them up.
Wonderful. And she gets to ask hers without writing it.
Thank you. How has the On the Table discussions, how have they influenced what you see as the priorities of the Trust?
So Tony asked how the ideas coming from On the Table have influenced the priorities of the Trust. We have designed the timing of events so that my board of directors is just starting the process of a new strategic plan for the Trust. This information that we've gained from On the Table comes in at the front end and provides invaluable data for how we organize the priorities. So I think you will see in the months and over the course of this year evidence that we have clearly heard what's important for the community, what matters to residents, and that'll be reflected in that.
Great. We have a question from Graham Grady, who is a City Club member and works at Taft Law Firm. Graham, you're in the room. I saw you. Hi, Graham. Graham's question is, how will you hold On the Table dinners, perhaps annually, to keep the dialogue going?
We naively thought that this was a one and done, and we would move on to something else. But shortly after, we had a meeting of our executive committee, and they were very enthusiastic about this and expressed that we can't walk away from this. And so I feel a strong sense of commitment from my board to continue this type of activity. We are looking forward to a number of partnerships in the fall, including with Chicago Ideas Week, where we are going to identify and elevate a number of the ready for prime time ideas to be able to be discussed broadly for that. We will also be investing in these collaboratories, organizing around powerful ideas that can bring people together. So there'll be some fall activity. And then I think inspired and validated by your response here, I'm imagining that next May 12th will be all about that sister neighborhood concept and how do we connect people across our city and our region.
Great. Fran Casey from DePaul. You're in the room, right? There she is. Okay. She politely calls DePaul America's urban campus. Can you comment on the importance of higher education, on the higher education sector in Chicago as an economic engine and a social cultural force?
Yeah, it's very important to recognize that within the loop, we've got about 65,000 college students. Within our region, more than 200,000 students. Thus, the framing of metropolitan Chicago is America's urban campus. And I really encourage those institutions to, again, come together and solidify this as a brand that stands out among desirable regions within our country to attract people. 'Cause that's where the vitality and growth comes, is from the inflow of migration. Young people creating homes, building careers here, bring a lot of talent to this. So that's a vital part. I think higher education, though, also has to deal with the forces of privatization, and they have to come to grips with the opportunity equation, which now is breaking down. And that, I think we see it individually, but collectively for all of our institutions of higher education to work together to figure out how every deserving young person can go to college and not worry about crushing student debt.
Great. Along those same lines, Olena Marshall from DePaul also asks, in the same vein, can you comment on the table discussions and what you see going forward with respect to the arts involved in that?
Yeah. So the arts are a vital part of our identity here. They provide important pathways for individuals for learning and expression. Our interest at the Chicago Community Trust is to make sure that that opportunity is broadly shared, both in terms of part of the core curriculum at the Chicago Public Schools, but also in terms of working very closely with Michelle Boone to push arts programming out into every neighborhood in Chicago so that it's not an experience that you have to come down to the loop to engage the arts, but you find it in your own backyard.
Great. There are a couple of questions with respect to technology. I have two more that I think will be really good, but this one says partnership for, I'm like Dr. Green now, I need you guys to write better so I can read these questions well. Don't tell him I said that. Please don't ever tell him I said that. I'll be in trouble. Partnership for Connected Illinois. Can you speak to the technology and the digital divide with respect to on the table? And were there any discussions about that?
This is our partnership with the MacArthur Foundation and the city forming Smart Chicago, and Dan O'Neill is here, the executive director of that. And we focus on access, skills, and impact of this. We went a long distance with the broadband opportunity grants that came out of the stimulus package in around 2009. What's unfortunate, though, is that the nation's funding priorities have shifted to rural communities, but we have neighborhoods that do not have access to high-speed broadband. And this is so vital. We cannot allow the digital divide to increase and continue to marginalize. It's the only way that you can apply for a job, get meaningful information, now engage in your personal health care. It's all online. And it's really important that as a city and a region, we remain committed to bringing high-speed broadband to every community as a basic human need, just like we bring electricity, fresh water, sewage, all of that for every community.
Two more, okay. For time's sake, I'm going to assume that the question from MacArthur was kind of covered when he talked about arts and not-for-profits. So if it wasn't, come up and see him afterwards, just for the sake of time. This is a really good question as well. Specifically with reaction to the Latino community, do their priorities mirror those of the greater Chicago community, or did you notice a difference at all with respect to on the table?
Yeah. At this point, we're partnering with UIC's Institute on Policy to do the detailed examination. We've got the broad brushstrokes of this. In the succeeding weeks, we will drill down more. Because we did not actively seek demographic background data about individuals contributing ideas, we don't have a full understanding of the origins of all of these ideas. So we'll be limited in making judgments or analysis of different groups having different interests or expectations. We'll have some of that information, but we gather that through other nonprofit partners like the Latino Policy Forum and other groups that help to inform how the needs of individual populations are specific to the interests of those groups and may not mirror a collective interest.
Thank you. Last question. We've got a lot of people from not-for-profit organizations here as well as government and business. What is the plan to merge everyone together with respect to on the table? You're smiling, as I'm saying.
I'm not, well, when you said merge everybody, I mean, Jim Lewis on our staff has a very active mergers and acquisitions portfolio of grant making where we do help nonprofits where it makes sense to come together and combine to create a more stable business model for their work for that. As I said, we will continue to use this information to inform our strategic plan, and ultimately that will show up in the grant priorities for the community trust. We engage with other community foundations. All of these data will be available publicly because we want there to be access to this information so that people can make their own judgments about the meaning of these data, as well as to pick off the ideas that make sense for whatever your mission is as a nonprofit. I think more than anything, there are dozens of great ideas that I really encourage nonprofits to grab a hold of, and more often than not, there are ideas like there's one in Rogers Park just about bringing the community together, reaching out and being more inclusive. And it's that act of forming community that I think is the important first step and prerequisite to arrive at solutions that do benefit all the residents of the community.
Thank you so much, Terry. I think we could sit and pick Terry's brain all afternoon, but what a wonderful discussion. Thank you so much.